welcome back to another pick a card reading. Today we're getting into how do your coworkers view you, feel about you, and view you. I'd like to welcome you guys into the collective. If you are new here, if you are returning, as always, thank you guys so much for being here. We're pulling from a lot of different new decks today, so I hope that I don't get so long-winded. We also might read from the guidebooks a little bit, but let's hop into it. Today we have this overhead selection. Group 1, you are the Kiss perfume. This one actually is available. This is another one that I have, but it's not listed in Cosmic Intelligence. If you want this one, just let me know. Group 2, you are the Eiffel Tower. Group 3, you are the Moon Beach, or this is Neon Beach. I don't know what that says, but it's one of our best sellers in Cosmic Intelligence. It's right over there, okay? LOL. And then group 4, you are Manifest Your Future by the Good Scent, and your future looks really bright, okay? But let's get into the groups. Choose your selections, choose your perfume. Shop the perfumes at Cosmic Intelligence. You can find the link down below, and I'll see you guys in your selection. Hi Group 1, welcome to your selection. So you chose the Kiss perfume. Let me know if you guys want this one. I'll put it in Cosmic Intelligence. But let's get into today's pick a card. How are your coworkers viewing you? Okay, so your coworkers viewing you, Group 1. Let's pull a few oracle cards, and then we'll get into some tarot as well as some channel messages. But let's see, how are your coworkers viewing you, Group 1? Okay. The Capricorn friend. LOL. Some of you guys are Capricorns. Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo energies. So for strengths, we have steady, giving, and reliable. Weaknesses, stubborn, taxing, and judgmental. Caring, responsible, and attentive. I definitely think that your coworkers, you get the job done for sure, and you do a very good job. Your work might involve you giving or providing a service. They think that you are very reliable. You show up consistently, and you're very dependable. Okay, some of you guys were out on vacation, perhaps. Some of you guys may have taken a vacation, and they see that you were still very responsive on your vacation, or you got all of your tasks completed before your vacation, okay? And that's really important at work, you guys. If you're still at office and you have like deliverables before you're taking a long weekend, or before you go on, some type of personal leave or vacation time off, I definitely would just sometimes you could be running short on time, but it's just really not a good look to leave uncompleted tasks before taking a long vacation or weekend, especially if you know that the deliverables might be needed somewhere else when you're gone, okay? So you can really get into a lot of trouble for that. But let's see group 1 in their shoes. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all. I think that your work, people could feel that something that you do for work, you just have like, it seems like you are, some of you, they see you wearing a lot of green for work, or there's a lot of money. You make a lot of green. Maybe you make a lot of money at work. I also feel like this is about your feet, or this is about your how much you look like. It looks like you're just so much more cared for. I don't know why, or we can get more context around it, but it just feels like there's a lot more care around you, and they feel like that is why you make a lot of money at work. Some of them, they feel very judged by you because they don't have as much care that you have. LOL. That's not funny, but I think that you finally, this is a sad reading, low key, because I think that you are just doing so much better than your coworkers. And I think that you do something to show that you care. And it's just, I think that it's always like this undercurrent at work where it's like this unspoken, like it's this unspoken thing where people, it's unspoken, but there's a lot of attention drawn to something that you're doing for work, or it's very, it's a very engaging thing that you're doing, and you do it in a reliable way. So it shows that you were like responsible, organized, and methodical about something. And these people just feel like when you put yourself in their shoes, it really just feel like these people have not been conscientious at work. I'm hearing sloth in business. They're lazy, and it's not like, especially around like bookkeeping or something like that. Like this could easily get out of control. When you're trying to do your own taxes and stuff like that. But you can ask AI to help you with that. So I think that it kind of could, like, I think that they feel judged by you because you're the one providing the service, or you're the one that seemingly has it all put together. Like they really see you as like this meticulous planner. And when you show up all put together, toes done, nails done, hair done too. Oh, you fancy, huh? Okay, yeah, you're very fancy, friend. And so it's just like, I think you showing up, they just feel so judged by you. And you might not be doing it on purpose, but it could also make you uncomfortable if you are in a situation where someone is not conscientious, not put together enough. It just becomes highlighted. Stark differences become highlighted in the quality of your work and your work ethic, especially if you're in similarly situated positions at work. But if you have like a hierarchy position, if you have like an authority position at work, I definitely see that they feel like you were very fast, or you had a T-like acceleration to an executive position or a leadership position. Some of you guys got promoted a lot. And it was it was putting yourself in their shoes where they didn't get any promotions, or they didn't get, they weren't as good on the job. It's kind of triggering to you as well. Okay, so let's see what is going on at work. LOL. Speaking of a Scorpio, okay, LOL. So recently in this Sagittarius energy, I damaged this deck, so I haven't used it in a long time, but I've been missing it. But please ignore it if it's all banged up. Some of you guys, you work in the music industry, and these people, this could be like, you guys can be two musicians or two artist, okay, or you could just be one musician or one artist, but you guys have very deep and tenacious relationships at work. And so people who might not even be in the same industry or in the same work environment as you, they compare themselves to your work a lot, or they're just not as, like, it just feels like you are steady and reliable at work, and they're just like these irresponsible people, haphazard, like it just feels like they're, kind of haphazard, or they are, they're lacking a care for themselves and for the job. I think that ultimately they feel very judged by you, because with Scorpio and Sagittarius energy coming up, it's about like your approach to life and your deep perspective around something. So, it's like the way that you're very attentive to something, like you're very attentive to someone's needs, or you're very attentive in your role. Some of you guys might do something, you might actually do something like a customer service job, or something where you might need to work with people a lot. And they see that the way that you handle or work with people is just a lot different than the way they do. I don't know, I keep getting this image of a nail technician. Some of you guys do nails, or you do something aesthetics, beauty. Maybe you do massages and facials. Like maybe you're an esthetician. Maybe you work in like some kind of cosmetologies, cosmetic health, something that is borderline like I'm not gonna say borderline, but it kind of could be like a dream job, even if it's something technical, like a dermatologist or a dentist, or a like a hairstylist or something like that. And these people, when they come in to you, some of you guys, you could literally be providing service to people, and the way that you just treat every customer with care is what I'm hearing. Okay, you are very responsible with them, and you are very attentive to their needs. And I think that sometimes this could be like they just see you having a different customer experience than they're having. Okay, so let's keep going, friends. What is how are your coworkers viewing you? Okay, LOL Socrates. That's come out on the channel before. Yeah, I love this deck. So from the Philosopher's deck, we're actually going to read. This is the only one we're going to read from the deck, from the guidebook, because they write so beautifully. And I try to use this deck as much as I can. But we have Socrates. Okay. The unexamined life is not worth living. Okay. Socrates compares himself to a gadfly, rousing you from your sleep to look at your life through the tool of self-examination. Awaken to the values that make your life worth living. Don't pass over the moments that cause you to pause and examine your life. Strive to know yourself. Scrutinizing and reflecting on your beliefs allows you to live in the light of your convictions without apology. Draw your attention away from material values and turn instead towards the care of the soul. Your soul is nourished by living as virtuously and self-consciously as possible, and not by wealth, power, or fame. Refuse to buy into the values of the marketplace. These values lack imagination and speak to the poverty of the soul, not to your higher self. Think about Socrates' famous riddle. Wisdom lies in knowing what you don't know. When you recognize the limits of your knowledge, you are always open to learning and growing. Explore and ask questions without presupposing any definite answers. The most important things are beyond what you think and what you know. What others in authority in what you think you know and what others in authority tell you to believe. Act with purpose and integrity. This is how you build a confidence to live a life with no regrets. Concern yourself with becoming an ethical individual. A good life and a happy life is a virtuous life. This is Socrates' message to you. That's actually really on point. I think that, this is interesting because there's like a lot of confirming messages here. And I think that, the difference between you and these co-workers is that your life has been a lot more examined. And it made these people, or it could make these people feel like their life is not worth living. But I think that what you could be seeing is that they haven't awakened to values that anchor them and with a purpose that they can drive towards. These people, you are someone like that really strives to know themselves. You have a lot of self-awareness in this situation, especially with Scorpio and Sagittarius energy. This is a role that has a lot of conviction, and you're steady, giving, and reliable in this situation. But some of these people feel judged that they don't have the same material values that you have. And I think that when they come to you, and it's something you can just tell that they're lacking care. And if you are performing a service, like hair, beauty, makeup, skincare, whatever, they know that they're, lacking care. That's why they came there. Okay, so I think that the way that you treat them in your chair or in your care is a totally different user experience than they get anywhere else. Okay. And I think that something you might talk to these coworkers and they just, they're not there having the same kind of client experiences because they don't have, they can't direct their attention away from material things, right? They don't care for the soul, so they don't have these intimate relationships that you have with your customers. Some of you guys could be doing some kind of strippy at the blicky, some blicky at the strippy. And your customers are just like, they see you and you and your customers become friends. And some of you guys, you have regular repeat customers. And so when they see that you have this strong bond that you form with your customer, they know that you were oriented towards caring for their soul. So that's why they keep coming back to you, okay? This workplace has like a marketplace. Like, this workplace is a marketplace, and there is, I think that they might have seen that you did not buy into the same superficial values as the rest of the marketplace. You guys were a lot more strategic, or you negotiated the power of your spirit over placing your material considerations above your self-empowerment. This is like, these dynamics that you have at work are with people who lack an imagination and lack creativity. So they bought into the conventional strategies of the marketplace. Some of them refuse to grow up and be responsible. Someone's name starts with letter D or letter Q. These people, they refuse to grow up and be responsible, and they saw that you just continue to evolve, and you did not resist a structure. You did not resist a structured and ordered life. And it's so funny, actually, because Scorpio and Sagittarius energy came up this, and I'm gonna check ChatGPT for the vibe around Scorpio and Scorpio and Sagittarius energy. Okay, so for Scorpio energy, we have unexpected income. That's so on point with like money related things. So like return flow, something previously invested, energy, time, emotion cycles back. And then what do we have for Sagittarius? Where's Sagittarius energy? Journey, expansion vector, shift in direction, mental or physical, a new route feeling. That's interesting. That's actually really confirming to the Socrates text. It's like, you might not have bought into the same kind of like, you might not have bought into the same, you didn't take the same journey as these other people in your workplace. Some of you guys, you were offered marriage first before you got like power, wealth, and fame. So a lot of them, they're noticing that you were offered marriage in this initiation, that it wasn't like this long journey of you chasing performance, that it was like your occupation may have actually led you to a marriage contract. And so some of them, you could have met your spouse while you were at work. But I think that ultimately at work, they see that there's a generous return of like abundance. They see that you have been in a flow state in this whole situation, and every seed that you've sown have actually started to sprout and to flourish and grow and blossom. And so I think that like, you guys have had just a very different trajectory than most people in this marketplace. Like, their journey and their values were totally different. Okay. And that's like really on point with today's message. So some of you guys decided to take a new route, and some of this is the new route is marriage instead of like, the party scene or something like that. Okay, so group 1, what is a Taurus? What how do your coworkers view you? We have the moon, funny energy. My moon is in Taurus. If you continue to make the same choices, you'll continue to get the same outcome. And what did I say? I knew somebody's name starts with the letter Q. I just, this is really, really interesting. I think that, like, you didn't buy into the same, you had a bigger imagination, and they can tell. And I think that that's why there's like a lot of wisdom that fills you. A lot of these people in your workplace are poor as well. So if they see that they see you coming in, your nails done, especially if you guys are doing something taboo for work, a lot of that could end up on the shadow sides of wealth, could end up in fast money, could end up with a lot of lying, cheating, and deceptions. And they keep looking at them from the perspective or the point of view of their higher self, and they just feel that you reflect so much of their poverty. It's definitely a poverty consciousness coming into an encounter with you, because you reflect a higher degree of care that they wish that they could grow into. Ultimately, though, I think that they really see you as acting with purpose and integrity, being a good person, doing things that are ethical, and not really focus on the material gains so much. So, that's really interesting, group one. Let's get some more archetypes. So, how are your coworkers viewing you? We have Taurus energy. They see that your house is very rewarded, and you have this very high honor and high rewards and recognition around your house, but you didn't take the same path as everyone else. They see that you have an immovable position. Some of you guys have just won an intense legal battle, or you came out of some legal battle. Some of you guys have been resolving corruptions within the judiciaries. I also feel like these people, they see you at work, and they see that you have a lot more care because you have an immovable position. Something like, something where they know that they don't have as much, they know that they don't have as much job security as you. And so with the moon, they have a lot of mood swings at work, okay? And it's like, no matter what kind of wild, volatile mood swing they have, they still cannot move you out of your position, okay? LOL. So these people, these co-workers are actually really, really impacted by you at work, because they see you as, generous and pleasurable. And, sometimes when you're like, maybe they could even catch you on breaks and stuff like that. And they see that you have art and possessions, and you make a lot of money at work, and you have good food at work, and they're just seeing the beautiful things about, where, like, the beautiful things of your job, like what has resulted from you having a tremendous job security. They literally see that you have an authority position, an official position, where your role is very deep and tenacious. Some of you guys have a very, very long tenure. Maybe you do act as judges, but they see that, you have a really, really high job security, and that you can't be moved because of something that you invented. Maybe this was even, maybe you even invented a process. Maybe you set the tone in a big way. Some of you guys, there was an innovation around your work, and this manifested through your being. And so that's why it's not just about you performing a role, but it manifested as your whole entire being. It represents like your role or your job or the service that you provide is actually like the energy that gives rise to the soul and helps people stop placing their attention on the material things and material values, and to place more on the power of their spirit. And they might make a lot of comparisons to you and feel as if they're at a disadvantage, or make some kind of other excuse about something, like as to why they keep making the same choices and getting the same outcomes. But I think that what you truly reflect is that the reason why you're so rewarded is because you actually were not so focused on the reward. They know that you were methodical, patient, and dependable, and that this did not happen overnight. Some people might see you as this raging success, or maybe it did seem like you kind of popped up with a well establishment and a structure that cannot be moved out of nowhere. But they don't know that you actually were really, really patient in the matter. Okay. Yeah, you were a visionary. Like I said, something about your job security or something about your occupation, it began with you having a vision that nobody else can conceive. So like, you know that story that we've been talking about on X with the Odyssey? It's like nobody really has like a vision for this. Okay, so they can't have a dedication to the project. And Taurus energy is like a fixed modality, so it's all about you having a dedication to your projects, you having a persistence, like a steadfast persistence around something. And these people, you know, the reason why they don't have as much job security or in a movable position is because they didn't create anything. Some of you guys are entrepreneurs, and you know, they just see that it's a lot of momentum around what you're doing, that you haven't been standing still, and that you've been very, very patient to gain this momentum. Some of you guys did a lot of planning and preparation before you could meet these opportunities. Okay, some of them, they see you, especially if you're like working in beauty or aesthetics, they see you with a sensual touching and material goods, and this is not something that happens overnight. This is something that you had a method around, something that you were patient with, especially if this is like a flexibility routine, a yoga journey. You know, not everybody can take the yogic path. Yoga is a lifestyle. It's not some, you know, it's not some aesthetic picture that you can take really quickly. Not everybody can flex yoga and dance. Okay, this is like, it showed with the Scorpio energy that like you have a deep and tenacious value around what you do. Some of you, if you are a yoga teacher, or you're a teacher of any kind, or you like are an entrepreneur in some type of way, they just know that it was all related to a deep and tenacious value that you have, where you focus on giving rise to the soul, giving care to the soul, and it manifested in every cell of your body and radiated outward. So if they see you, your skin clear, okay, they see your skin clear, you see your hair is growing, you know, you look all prim and proper and put together, you got possessions and, you know, material goods and all that jazz. They think it's beautiful, but it rules their it gives them a lot of mood swings. Okay, and it's like these could be people that could have been competing for your house and occupation, but none of them had the vision for anything. They didn't create anything, y'all. It's getting so strange that people keep trying to, I don't know, something where there could even be a debate at work about who created something, and it was they, because they did not develop it, that means that they did not create it. Some of you guys may have started a project together, and whoever left the project, whoever deviated from the project, or whoever did not sustain, like what I said, Taurus energy is a fixed modality. It requires a dedication to a project. It requires persistence. It can take, you know, it takes a deep and tenacious value to keep going at it. Okay, some of them, they're saying that some people left the project or left the foundation, and they did not have that's so weird. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. But it was like they did not have a dedication to the project, or they didn't have the they weren't really the person that were able to envision this without, you know, without any need, like without any personal gain. So it never kind of like, it never has, like, it's never steady, because they were not the person to envision, or they were not the person, they were not the people who didn't have any personal gain. They were just superficial values around it. And that's how you know someone didn't create, they didn't create it, if they didn't stick with it, or they can't be steady with it. If you cannot perform your job repeatedly with the same amount of quality or better, then you're not really skilled enough to do it. So they see that you have an immovable position because of a skill that you have mastered or have honed that is not easily replaced. You might have even invented it, okay? You might have even invented a process, invented a methodology, invented a blueprint or a pinprint, okay? And because you were the maker, you were the invention, these people, they were very touched by your invention. Maybe you even created art or a program or a business, and it really, it was widely successful, and you can't be moved because it was yours. You know what I'm saying? Some of you guys have intellectual properties tied to it. Your namesake is all over it. And you've already been so well established that, like, they just keep, some of the people in the foundation, they left the foundation, or they're still trying to kind of like get really close to your social group in some type of way, but they just keep falling short, is what I'm hearing. They're not steady at it, they're not giving, they're not reliable. And people really just see, like, if there's criticism at work, they just see them as people who are really stubborn, and people who won't, like, they refuse to move on with their life because you were like, some of you guys were rewarded and promoted around something that you created that people started fighting over. Like, maybe people started fighting over your home, like the story of the Odyssey, or fighting over your occupation, and they did not get the same rewards because they showed that they weren't dedicated. They were opportunists. They failed to realize that it was like an infrastructure getting formed around your occupation that made you immovable. They were failing to realize it and just kind of rendered it as aesthetics, and they failed to realize that this was actually a powerful financial security, that this was an entire physical pleasure. LOL. So they see that it was, you putting all these pieces together, or you had a vision for what this should and could and will look like, and it turned out, because you were the one that had the vision, you ended up being the one that was immovable, okay? So how do your coworkers, view you? Group one, okay? Yeah, the Lovers in the reverse. These relationships at work are not aligned, okay? They're not deep and tenacious. They're not visionaries. They're not dedicated to the project. These feel like people from the past a lot. Something where this could have been some type of initiative in housing, some type of charitable giving. It feels like it could have been like a charity or something like that. It could have been something that was supposed to help humanity. And I think that because these relationships were not aligned, it really does affect how you might feel about the service that you provide them. But I think that some of you just need patience in order for this to align. Or you just truly can't put yourself in their shoes. With the Lovers in the reverse, they're just not aligned. They don't have the same self-examination tools that you have. They don't have enough comprehension around the self-examination tools. They didn't have a dedication to the project either. Because some of them, they just were not responsible, not grounded. Some of them, they were too stubborn to like trying to fight in the power dynamics. And I think some of this does require patience and for more methods to be formed around your vision. But some of these people were just driven by, they were stubborn and trying to compete for your house and occupation when they just did not have a dedication to expanding it, okay? But I think that once you put yourself in their shoes, we have Fortitude, the Nine of Wands reversed, okay? And then the High Priestess. Yeah, these people at work are duplicitous. But I think, I'm not going to say duplicitous because we have the Ten of Pentacles here. I think that you have recently like you've recently said it made a big milestone. Some of you guys have got like you've had like a billboard poster up. You've had like some big advertisement going around or something like that. And I think this Ten of Pentacles really represents that you're immovable. But I think that with the Lovers coming out, that these people at work have a strained relationship with you. I think that they felt too judged, or these are people that you need to judge. They they get pulled out of sync or alignment because of some tendency that they have that they're not self-aware of, and it's related to their house. Some of this is not bad. This is actually a milestone for some of you guys with this person. This could be a Taurus or a Capricorn, but you know, this person, they just I know exactly who this is actually. This person, you might have fond memories with them, or there was a season where you collaborated. Maybe this is even one of your clients that have rewarded you or something, or they found you to be very pleasing and soothing, but this relationship did not work out. This was like a forced dynamic, or they were dealing with something subconscious that's taking them out of alignment. This is not your problem whatsoever, but I think that you know, these people are good friends. I think that they have the potential to be friends, especially with the Ten of Pentacles. But with the Lovers, it's not necessarily because they're co-workers. They're not relationships that you chose, or they might, you know, they might feel forced in a way, but it's really because these people are dealing with something that they haven't really done enough self-examination around. And because you know, some of you guys have this methodology, or you have this tool that you use, you know, that has, like, that's the result of a big vision. You have a big awareness around how the tool works and what the purpose is for, what the tool or the method or how it's supposed to operate and run. And you know, these people who are in orbit around your occupation, they do not this could be jealousy with the Nine of Wands in the reverse, but it's truly an internal struggle navigating a relationship with, you know, you, the innovator that created this tool and have all this awareness around it, and they just don't have the same degree. Some of this is not on purpose, especially with the Ten of Pentacles. This could definitely feel like it's a huge milestone, such that they kind of they're, with the High Priestess in the reverse, this could be subconscious. It doesn't feel so negative, but they need to they're actually getting a greater awareness from using your tool. And that means that, you know, you are teaching them something, okay? And you have to stay methodical and patient, and give your service in a reliable way is what I'm hearing. Giving your service in a reliable way. But because they don't have the same amount of self-awareness, they're not aligned. And it's not malicious. It's just that they need to learn. They're on the journey to self-discovery, and they need to, like, learn more about themselves. And you just are coming from a totally different, you're mirroring totally different shadows. This person, you know, they didn't really have the capacity to envision anything. They didn't have a vision, and some of them were just here for their personal gain. Some of them were just around to be pleasing and soothing or something like that. LOL. So let's wrap, friends. I think that we got enough around how your coworkers are viewing you. They see that you're very patient around, you know, these milestones that you're healing them, you know, healing around. And I think it's really because this vision that you had for healing, it is for people with psychological illnesses, big, like, developmental issues, maybe even people who are rooted in tendencies, helping people release false judgments and false powers and false gods. And they cannot resist your sweet allure. You are very sweet and caring and responsible. And so you are kind of like nurturing these people with your tool. Your tool has helped nurture people into a self-awareness, and it has, I think that they truly honor you with the Ten of Pentacles, but they're not relationships that you chose, or they're just people that you kind of just have to manage, or that you have to engender a social awareness around the tool. But some of you guys are the boss, and that's your job. Okay, so let's get some advice. Well, we have the Eagle Spirit. That's very patriotic. The Eagle Spirit. Spirit has your back. Okay, so yeah, Spirit has your back in this matter. I think that you get what you want, and you do find a lot of comfort in doing your job. I think that you're fine with the dynamics, but you have to nurture these people out of something that they were previously oblivious to, which could be high voltage, and it could create conflicts at work, it could create anger, but I think that, a lot of you might even do some kind of wellness practice at work to help your clients, or help yourself, or help your group, like, some type of grounding exercises could help in this matter, because these people are totally working through something subconscious. Because it's a co-working position, you might not have like a lot of personal relationships with them, or a lot of personal conversations with them, but I definitely think that because you have so much wealth, you are immovable. But I don't think that like many of these relationships are aligned. Okay, they're just relationships that you have because you're rooted in a tendency. Some of y'all need to fire people. And then we have, I am not meant to be a second choice. I am not a hobby or just something to do. I matter, and I am a priority. Some of you guys, you have been, there's an outcome. There's an outcome at work or something like that that is not in alignment. Okay. I think that what this affirmation really wants to highlight is that you, through your occupation, you have earned an immovable position, and this could kind of create like this. It's highlighting something. It's contrasting something that could be a karmic challenge for you. It's like this Ten of Pentacles is massive. This is like some of you guys were promoted or received a large signing bonus or something like that, and these people just watched you in your career treat yourself as a first choice, not a hobby, something that you do as providing a service in a reliable and dependable way, because it mattered to you, it matters to other people that find your work, and you put your, something where they're seeing that you put your career and you put your needs first. And this is a huge contrast to the people who maybe neglected you. Some of you guys could be married or in a romantic relationship, and your work have always come first in some type of way. And this can make some partners disgruntled, but it can also highlight, if they're becoming disgruntled, it can highlight how the shoe fits. You know what I'm saying? So I think that the more, like, you through your occupation, how your coworkers could be viewing you is that, like, you always put your work first, or you're very reliable and dependable at work, and that this is not something that you just do for a hobby, but this is something where you are literally dependent on, and you are like, it's your like, you're really responsible for clearing up the misperceptions of others and helping people clear the third eye chakra. I don't know, because it feels like a lot of inferior people at work that don't understand your tool, your complex technique, your process, and you're like, if you can't understand it, then you probably have to, like, take a back seat. You know what I'm saying? And so they see that you don't take a back seat, that you put everything related to you and what you truly desire first. Very interesting energy, group one. And then the angel. Yeah, have faith in your ability to help yourself and others. These are not bad relationships. These are just people that need help. you know, with the high priestess in the reverse, some of these co-workers are dealing with something shadowy at home, and you guys could be dealing with something shadowy at home too. There's definitely an element with the high priestess of something subconscious, something hidden that you're not fully discerning, that is creating paranoia, struggle, and strife. Some of you guys are very paranoid at work, even if you come up in a very steady, reliable way, because there's so much work or so much wealth involved in your occupation. Perhaps this is a highly risky and dangerous occupation. Some of you work in banking and investments or financial sectors, and you guys make a lot of money, or you do a lot of aggressive financial exchanges. And this fight for wealth means that it also could lead to a lot of danger or harm. Okay, risk of harms. So you know, I think that ultimately, though, the positive things that you can reflect through your occupation is that you really put your occupational health, you know, first. And this is not, it could have even been people seeing you, you know, seeing your vision, right, and thought that it was just a hobby, and you're like, this is not a hobby, this is a vision. Okay, and the way that you treat it with urgency helps other people treat it with urgency as well, especially when they see the reward pouring in. Okay, thank you so much, group 1. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hi, group 2. Welcome to your selection. So you chose the Tower Day. I don't know, the Eiffel Tower. Let's hop into how your coworkers are viewing you. Sorry for the background noise. There's a lot of rain and thunderstorming. Okay, so let's see what's happening around your coworkers, group 2. Okay, what's going on? So this could be a Libra. Okay. Or you're taking a similar path as someone in your environment. Okay, this is interesting. The Pisces coworker. Some of you guys work at Savage or work for Fenty Beauty. Some of you guys could work in like Ulta or Sephora. We have the Pisces coworker, and this one, you know, I think that ultimately your coworkers see you as someone that's very, very good natured. You're known, you know, when things are not. I think that you're really known for being a cooperative person. Empathetic, but not a suicidal empathy. Sensitive, but not weak. But people could feel that you are you get upset easily or something like that. Some of you guys, they feel like you get upset easy, or you are kind of impatient. Okay, especially since this Eiffel Tower came out, some of you guys, something happened. Maybe there was like a tower at work, or there was like some surprising news at work. Maybe you guys got there was like a press release or some type of news conference, some type of official publication, important information, dispatch, executive orders. Let's keep going. How do your coworkers view you? Group 2. How do your coworkers view you? Make a wish. So I was kind of checking this energy in the premeditation. They definitely see you as a wish fulfillment, friends. You're definitely the 9 of Cups, okay? For marriage is what I'm hearing. Somebody at work wants to marry you. How people could be viewing you at work. something where a big wish of yours came true at work. Some of you guys got your dream job, and people are, that's how people are viewing you. You're doing exactly what you want to do, and this is making a lot of people envious of you. Um, it's weird because you guys are very appreciative, relaxed, and subdued at work. I think that you're very humble in this position. Some of you guys could have, like, this kind of feels like quite the opposite of group one, where you guys might have like an executive position, may have a high paying job, but they see you coming around and you have like just like a t-shirt on. Maybe they see you a little fat or something like that, like you don't really care about your physical appearance. And you something where they could have seen you with like a crossbody on. They saw you working, doing something with a fountain. Maybe you guys work like in equestrian sports. Equestrian is horseback riding, which, like, maybe some of you guys work in the water. Maybe you work at like maybe you work at a zoo. You work with animal life. Some of you guys, you might work in a retail space. This when your coworkers see you, they just start hoping and wishing. I think that you are a major inspiration for a lot of people, even if you don't want to be. Some of you, they see you as like a CEO and the boss, and you never come around, or like in a high paying position, and you never come around ostentatious. Like some of you guys are not glamorous. Some of you work with body art. Maybe you do tattoos. Someone's name can start with the letter N. Okay. So, group 2. How do your coworkers view you from the Philosopher's deck? It's one of my favorite decks. There are no dangerous thoughts. Thinking itself is dangerous. For sure, thinking itself is very dangerous. Don't think, friend. LOL. Hannah. Ooh, someone's name could be Hannah. LOL. Hannah friend. Thinking. Okay. When these coworkers realized that you were thinking, that became the problem. Okay. Some of y'all, it's best to play dumb in certain situations. So no, not Hannah. Wait, this is spelled wrong. Oh, that's an A, not an F. Okay. Hannah Arendt. Thinking. There are no dangerous thoughts. Thinking itself is dangerous. Take thinking seriously as a moral task. Thinking is not solely an intellectual exercise, but the most significant factor to play in ethical and political behavior. Don't blindly accept the authority and judgment of others. You can't evade responsibility for your actions by claiming that you were simply following orders or doing what everyone else was doing. When you allow your comfort, convenience, or ambitions to shield you from thinking about your actions, you can contribute to the suffering of others. Don't look for safety by thinking with the crowd. Guard against shallow generalizations and cliche responses to the world. These are signs that you are not actually thinking. Do not fear difference, for it is the soul of the independent thought. The soil of the independent thought. Every moment that you are exercising independent thinking, what Arendt calls as thoughtlessness, you are vulnerable to persuasion and to the possibility of committing heinous acts. Evil is born of thoughtlessness. Failing to think for ourselves is more common than we like to admit it. Thinking demands bravery and the fortitude to resist conformity. Be attentive to the particularities of each situation and have the courage to arrive at and stand by your own conclusions. Every moment has the potential for a new beginning if you look at it from a new perspective. Ask yourself before acting if you could live peacefully with yourself afterwards. This is Arendt's message to you. This is interesting. In this co-working situation, there definitely feels like there's a lot of group thinking. And so that's the interesting part about your presence in this situation is that you lay outside of the group think, and where everyone kind of like you, like maybe this is even happening on X or in a group chat or in a group project where everybody came to the table and they had the same responses. They didn't really add value. They kind of regurgitate what's already been said and done. These people do not have their own independent thinking. And there is a there is like there is an element of thoughtlessness here, where they did not act with care and conscientiousness. But there's a part of these people who are disconnected. There are a portion of these people who are disconnected from reality. They are actually generalizations and cliche responses. Like, you see a lot of cliche responses and generalizations and people who summarize and recreate other things that have already been said and done. I also think that some of you guys, something bad could have happened in this workplace. Someone's name could be Hannah or Neelam, or their name could start with the letter B. Someone goes by the name Star or by the name Brittany or B, or starts with the letter B or something like that. There was something heinous that happened in this work environment because there was a group think, and I think that it led to, it was like thoughtlessness, but this could even be slander and libel. Like, this could be some petty gossip that got out of control, and when in hindsight it was 2020. These people really, really regret what they did after you enlightened them around their group thinking, okay? Or they had like a cliche response, or they made sweeping generalizations about you, or they grew defensive by you, like they grew defensive at you having your own independent thought, okay? It was because they couldn't brainwash you, they couldn't oppress you, they couldn't take advantage of you, okay? Maybe you guys even share something vulnerable or sensitive at work, and they had like they made generalizations about it, or they followed a cliche. Some of you, if you do something, like if you told someone that you were a stripper, or they're aware of your occupation that might be taboo, these people had a very, very, very cliche response. And I think that you had already been discussing these cliches, or you had already been addressing groupthink around the matter. And when you were met with this like cliche response or this generalization, it actually led to something heinous happening. Maybe this even hatched like a abusive AI generated model on social media. Like, there's something where these people, they were thoughtless and they were cliches, and they participated in a gossip, a slander about you that was actually really, really harmful. So this is interesting. I think that you've been comfortable and convenient and ambitious, and you haven't, something where you maybe haven't, like, maybe you haven't really, you've been their authority, okay? So you're not really, having a lot of conversations with them. But some of you, because you are authority, like if you come into your store, okay, checking in on your store location or something like that, all of the co-workers are going to kind of like gather around and group think about your role, and group think about why you're at the store. And when you leave, before you come, there's going to be like this huddle, and then after you leave, there's going to be another huddle. You know what I'm saying? You're considered to be dangerous because you have the power to fire and hire. I also feel like, some of these people, maybe you came around in a group think or something like that, and you were a difference, okay? Some of you came around as like a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire, okay? And they made lots of generalizations and cliches about your role in this situation, okay? So, this is really interesting, friends. I think that something heinous happened, you know, where they may have led to, whether you're in an authority position or not, it could have led to something, some harmful gossip and slander, where you were met with a cliche or generalization that isolated you, okay? That isolated you or persecuted you for having your own particularity, I think. Like something where you were attentive in particular and had an unquestioned obedience, and they were just lacking reflection, failing to think for themselves, failing to entertain different perspectives. They were conformist, and they were people who evaded their responsibilities. Especially when if you get triggered by an authority coming around, that means that you are not properly handling your authority. Like that's, you know, like I said, like if you have to huddle before and after your boss comes into work, that means that you probably weren't really doing what you were supposed to do to begin with. I also feel like these people, they haven't really been responsible for themselves. So if you come around as the boss asking for clarity, asking questions about operations, asking to reconcile variances, some of these people have been stealing out of the cash register. They have been stealing tips or something like that. They could be stealing inventory as well, okay? And some of you guys, you may have come around, ran a Kaizen event, or did something that reflected an independent thinking that would improve operations, that would streamline operations, that would optimize something, and you were met with they generalized it, or they were not they were not they were not a team effort, or they didn't care. They didn't care about the responsibility. So some of you guys left this work environment. This is a past work environment. But you know, these people, they were you showed a lot of potential in every moment, but I think that they failed to entertain new perspectives and new ideas. They were really boxed in their worldview or their work view, and they were not people that you could collaborate with, I think, essentially, okay? I think that you were very appreciated and relaxed in the environment, but you like the psyche, interesting. You may have understood their psyche very well, especially if they met you with a lot of cliches or something like that. Like if this happened like on an X group chat or something like that, they came in with a lot of white cliches, or they came in with a lot of, you know, group think and cult-like thinking, and just hopping on what's popular and trending, and, you know, repeating the same things that have already been said. Like, don't create the same post that someone already just made. Like, we already know that the case with Musk v. Altman was dismissed on the statutes of limitations as a calendar technicality, and we don't need 100,000 posts of people repeating the same calendar technicality. What we need is for you to stop making the same cliche response. There could have been something that you did at work that was outside of what they expected. Maybe you deviated from their expectations. You had your own independent thinking, especially when they may have responded to something about you in a cliche way. They made a generalization, or they tried to judge or something like that. Somebody came around with the white gaze, or somebody came around and you just debunked. You had this psyche kind of always reminds me of the dynamic mechanism psyche, where you understand what unconscious drives, or like what is unconsciously driving their psyche or their behavior, right? Their reality has been very different than the internal dialogue that they had, and this is something that you've been very aware of. And especially the cliches and the generalizations. It's like you're not the one that's actually getting an alliance. You're not the one you're not the one that's getting the alliance. You're not the one that's actually successful at work. You just keep coming around with the cliche or something, you know, some type of criticism that has already been reduced or repeated, okay? So you understood these people's psyche very well and didn't take anything personally. I think that's why you stayed very relaxed. And I think that you appreciated this work environment. I don't think that it might not have been so bad, but some of you guys, there was a heinous slander and libel or something that was cutthroat in a work environment where people went to an extremes to compete for occupation. But for others, you were very sensitive and empathetic about their generalizations and cliches because you knew that they were just group things. You knew that they were just people who, maybe this was even like a dead end job that you were working, like an ends to a means. Okay. Some of you guys, if you run like a small business, you know a lot of these people. A lot of these people could be students that you're working with. You know that they're just there for a temporary time. You know that they're just there to complete a task, to work for a season while they're at that location. So a lot of you guys have your retention. You guys have been looking at retention in your work environment, and that'll look different because some people who have a high retention, that's actually like a cult group like thing that may not be like on X, like that's not actually effective for like 200 million people to be sitting around sending a false dispatch, fabricating, empathy on a social media account. But for others, this is a much smaller group, or it's a much smaller group, or you could have to do a lot of teaching, doing a lot of training. Some of you guys, your retention rate may mean that you have to train people a lot and over again. So, not having a high retention could impact your talent and your human resources. Not having a high retention because you guys, that you deal with a lot of students, but I think that a lot of, in the onboarding, a lot gets lost in translation, especially because some of you, if you're running a small business and you have a high turnover, then, they might see you as very worn down or having to do a lot of work and having to do a lot of re-explanations and stuff like that. So you guys could really, when you find some good people who want to stick around, some of them, they might, if you're hiring a student, they're not going to stick around because they're going to graduate soon and move on to their real career. But for others, if you get like, someone who can be a little bit more settled in the occupation, someone who wants to stay for at least a year, you can have like, I think that some of you guys have a high turnover where, there's only 2 to 9 months. And it's because they're students or because they are not learning what they need to learn in the role. Some people are really getting frustrated. It's not that you can't stick with, some people. This is a very sensitive topic. Like, I don't want to call certain jobs dead end or make it seem like that is a lot within someone's life. But some people, the incentive to stay in a dead end job where there's a very low, there's a low chance of like succession. There's like not as much, upward mobility if you're running a small business. Some of you guys are trying to expand your operations. Maybe you're opening up new stores, opening up new locations, getting new streams of revenue. Okay, but so you will probably have to constantly fight a high turnover rate if you are, the job is not, it does not offer a lot of upward mobility. Some people who get in the role, you might want to look for middle-aged women, maybe middle-aged women or men, people with disabilities, people who have, I think also like inquiring about like how long they have lived in the area, how long they plan to live in the area, providing some incentives for them to stay at least 1 year. So if you teach like really, really important skills at the job and there's a high turnover rate, you might not feel motivated to teach them. Like if you're teaching henna, that's a really, really big investment that that they need to find their own personal, like their own personal studies around. That should not be like you should. I think that you should not be teaching them and on the on the clock. You know what I'm saying? Like if there might be times for practice, but ultimately I think that sometimes they can use it as a scapegoat to not actually hold their responsibilities around other aspects of the store. Okay. Some of you guys, your occupation is your job, okay, or involves you doing schoolwork. So your coworkers definitely see you doing a lot of studying if that's the case, okay. But ultimately, even if you are in the executive position, or you have the decision-making powers, they see you as very humble coming around, because especially because you guys could have a lot, like a high turnover. You're very humble to knowledge and sharing your knowledge, and I think that you do appreciate when someone is devoted to learning about the position or learning the skills. Okay. Some of you guys, this heinous thing that happened at work was because of your body, especially if this happened on X. There's like a co-working on X. They were envious of your body, or they started to make some, like they started to do something, they could have done something oppressive or cliche, like something where you may have been marginalized because of your body, or one of your protected statuses led to unexpected money at work, like a violation of one of your protected statuses could have gotten, like it could have happened at work, and some of you guys are literally getting settlements from something heinous that happened in the workplace, a violation. We have the karmic loop. This karmic loop is with, somebody from an old work environment, someone that you might have legal issues with, but there's a karmic challenge where it feels like, yeah, and what did I say on the bottom of the deck? Like, yeah, gossip and slander and libel is very heinous in the workplace. This is an identity theft, okay? So I think that you really did get clear in this situation. You got the increased awareness around the situation, and I think that you came in with a lot of abstract thinking. Okay, you came in with a lot of abstract thinking, or a lot of higher learning around something. Maybe you told them that you were a student upon entering a job. Maybe you just had a thinking that was different than the way that they thought, and it was clear. With this Jupiter energy, your co-workers, they saw you as having a yin for exploring ideas. You were able to spiritually and intellectually form an ideology. Maybe they saw that you had a lot of product knowledge, a lot of background information. They saw that they didn't have to teach you a lot. And so this was, especially if you enter like a dead-end job, there's not going to be a whole lot of investment and training, which means that like reduces the costs related to high retentions, but it doesn't really offer people a higher learning. This is not a position that offers upward mobility, especially if you don't have your own spiritual intellectual ideology. Some of you guys came into a job, and even if you perceived it as not having a lot of upward mobility, you may have been you may have had your own independent study, and you did not have the same group thinking that they had, and it was, you performed something where you may have performed very well on a job because you were a student, okay, you had your own independent thought, you had your own spiritual and intellectual ideology that reflected you traveling long distance, or reflecting that you had thought about something, or that you had assessed the ethical and moral value in a matter, okay? And so this could have been very triggering to people. I think that they made a lot of different, like, I think that you came in and they saw you as a great fortune. And so some of them, they saw this as great fortune and prosperity. They knew that if you were a student, that you were on your way to a job that offered you upward mobility, and that you were there for a good time, not a long time. And so I think that you know, they saw you as benevolence, growth, success, and accomplishment, but it highlighted where they were. Some of them were obese. Someone's name is starts with letter A. Um, some of them were obese, lazy, and highlighted their sloth in business. Like some of you came around with a Kaizen event. You came around to, some of you tried to, you tried to take inventory. Some of you tried to take an inventory, and that didn't, something where that didn't work out. You may have, there was something, a method or process or an initiative that you have for growth that you definitely represented these people's great fortune, y'all. But they were, you know, gaining weight, lazy, sloth in business, okay? So you brought a sense of optimism. They just were not ready with this group think. But I think that this also led to heinous acts when they, you know, some people grew competitive, or some people who were not performing as well on the job because they didn't assess the ethical and moral values. They didn't have a yin. They didn't have a yin for exploring ideas. They didn't have their own, you know, independent thought, and they were just like a group thing. And so you may have like had a product knowledge or had some kind of experiences that made you stand out, that made you more successful, that maybe got you a promotion in a quick way, okay? So I definitely think that you were guided with these people. Some of you guys, this is a previous workplace where you have been in an intense legal battle with these people, and you are in a karmic loopity-loop with about something that's related to an energy center. It literally is, it's literally disrupting someone's energy. They can't, like, this is a disruption of energy. And I think it could be related to this is something traumatic happened in the workplace. So this is not just affecting you. This is like a group trauma, and this has really impacted. Like, this has really impacted. Like, I don't want to say it's impacted their psyche, but I think that you've had to, going back to the concept of the dynamic mechanism, you've had to thoroughly debunk this heinous act that happened in a workplace, where they have just been, you know, I think that they're appreciative of the debunking because they were a group think, a generalization, a cliche. And the thorough debunking may have been a fatal ethical and moral miscalculation with the Jupiter energy here. This karmic loop is where you actually have to, you are in charge of clearing a traumatic experience and making the right decisions. So you call the shots. It's not anything else that people can do. So your karmic looping is where you hold responsibility for your own behavior. Some of you, this was an illness. This is not something that this loop is not something that you can control. It's literally an illness around something that overstimulated you in a workplace, and have been harming you such that you don't, like, maybe it is draining your life force or stopping you from following your purpose and vision. Maybe it's even disconnecting you spiritually because you were met with like a group think. It doesn't, you know, with the third eye chakra and Jupiter, I think that in your workplace, how you would thrive most is like having a spiritual connection. And maybe if you came into a group, they were spiritually disconnected, they were cliches, especially if they had like they made some generalizations about you, your long distance travel. They made a lot of, you know, they couldn't handle how you explore ideas, so they made up stories, okay, is what I'm hearing, okay? And that was like cliche. Someone's name is Camille. Some of these people, they could have like a authority position. They could be really talented people, or this could be the useless class that I was telling you about. The useless class that looks normal, but they make up conflicts and stuff, okay? Someone name is like someone, there was something that happened in this workplace with this manager or with this authority, or you could have been the manager or authority, where you really needed to break down someone's psyche. Someone's name is Camille or Hannah, or starts with the letter A, or they could be obese. They could have, you know, bringing a lot of anxieties about their physical appearance to work, about their mouth, their speech impediments or something like that, their teeth, or something with their hair. So um, it's like something where it could have been a conflict about a man in the environment. Someone's name is Adrian, okay? But someone, they made up they made a generalization that they kind of swept some information up out of the thin air. Camille definitely made up like a story or something like that. They said they started like relaying information that you did not say. And I think that you know, like you had a yin for exploring ideas. So maybe if you had a lot of communication, a lot of conversations, these people, they were shocked by your communication and intelligence. They were shocked by your abstract mind. So there were a lot of different interpretations, and I think that you thoroughly debunked this person's psyche mechanism and helped them understand what was the underlying drive that made them misconstrue something, that made them generalize something, or act in a groupthink or a heinous act that was thoughtless. Like something that they did was thoughtless, where they may have painted you to be a villain when you were just exploring an abstract, like you were exploring something abstract, and they kind of like generalized it or misinterpreted it, and it led to a big miscommunication in the workplace is what I'm hearing. And I think that the karmic loop is that this was actually, yeah, you were a siren at work, okay? Because of the way that you spoke. Sirens are people that speak. They're not people who just sit by, looking desperate, begging for money, right? Sirens they have a glow and they speak. A lot of times a siren has a very alluring a voice, or a very eloquent way of speaking. You could even be a singer or a musician, but you know because you are a siren, you know that you are irresistible to a lot of people. You know that you're the center of attention. You know that when you open your mouth and start talking, that all of the attention is going to be on your expression. So you are very, like, a lot of y'all are very talented abstract thinkers. You guys are very, very intelligent people. Some of you guys excelled at school. Or there's a lot of discussions. Maybe some of you, maybe even if you're not a student, you guys stay devoted to your learning, and these people may have found you after leaving a work environment or a school environment. They may have found you giving TED Talks, giving interviews, playing a big role in society for your independent thought, and the way that you moved away from like this conditioning within, in a like educational system or institutional doctrine. How you moved, like even if you went to an institution, they see that you moved away from a group think. You have your own independent doctrine. And the way you guys know that, because of like maybe your body or the way that you speak, that you draw a lot of attention. So you thoroughly, how your coworkers are viewing you, you thoroughly debunked like, their psyche, where they did something heinous and made like, or you debunked, like you were able to understand their generalization very quickly because you understood the psyche in an abstract way. And it actually embarrassed these people, okay? Because they made, they turned your exploration of ideas, where it made people believe stories that you hadn't even engaged with. But I think that some of it was an ethical violation. It was not up for interpretation. Someone, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, justice. They were not fair with the with the group thing. They were not fair with the karmic loop. Some of you have a ongoing legal problem with these people at work, and it has been a superficial challenge that have been stealing from you, okay, that have been harming you, that have been really falling short, you know what I'm saying, okay, especially if you guys are making calculations for ethical and moral values at an institution. Some of you guys are actually drawing paperwork around this injustice in the workplace, but it was really because these people grew unhinged about your body and your beauty and the way that you spoke and the fact that you were a student. Some of you guys entered a workplace right after you graduated, and something about you graduating, something about you being a first generation, some of you guys were first generation corporate, entering a corporate environment. Some of you this was your first job out of college. But it's just like when they knew that you had opportunities outside of it, all the people who were there with no upward mobility kind of got pissed, okay? Because they knew that you would explore your ideas enough to think outside of their limited, work environment. We have the sun reverse. This is just a temporary delay. This is not a long-term loop, okay? This is just you reflecting or mirroring something that is going on within the psyche that is disturbing, okay? It's depression, truly. These people at work are really, really depressed, okay? And then we have the Four of Wands. Yeah, these people are actually celebrating you now because you helped them take responsibility and accountability for a groupthink that have been really harmful to a lot of people. It wasn't, this libel and slander was not just harmful to you, but I think that the way that you assess the ethical and moral values and how it may have harmed you, stole from you, stole prosperity from you, put you in danger. Some of it, you had to leave a workplace. You lost job security because of something heinous that happened in the workplace. And I think that after assessing the ethical and moral values, they're starting to learn that this group thinking, these generalizations and cliches that they were making around your abstract speech were, their own personal problems, and they just are in this depression where they wish that things can go back to the way they used to be before this heinous thing was so harmful to you, okay? Before the theft became so harmful to you, it really got out of control, is what I'm hearing, okay? It led to a lot of erosion, it led to degradation, it led to loss, okay? It was not a potent and prosperous situation, okay? Especially if this is like a cult on social media or something, okay? They're not prosperous. But some of you, they were like, oh, this is just a temporary depression, so that we can take responsibility and get more higher learning. Because they can't resist you, they are they're spiritually and intellectually drawn to you. That's the spiritual conviction of a siren. You're not a siren just from showing up, right? Or just from wearing my outfits or wearing my dance moves or, trying to mimic my life and speech. That does not make you a siren. What makes you a siren is a spiritual conviction with Jupiter's energy that keeps you exploring ideas, keeps your mind in the abstract, ruling a higher learning, that helps you address like something where you could even have a deep knowledge about religion and philosophy and all these different explorations is triggering to people because they don't have the same depth of perspective, they don't have the same merit because they were just passing around the same generalizations on X, and you came around like glitch surreal in this bitch and turned it up, right? So LOL, let's get your advice and then we'll wrap, friends. What's your advice, okay, for this work situation? I think that they will hold themselves responsible. They're just really depressed at how bad this got, because they actually love being around you. They love that you liberate them, okay? You help clear their third eye chakra, but this karmic loop is really traumatizing to the third eye chakra for a lot of people at work, okay? So we have life is a mystery. Yeah, it was mysterious while it was happening, but everything is 2020 in hindsight. You were there like a vicious cat, sniffing out the details, getting efficient and methodical and exploring these ideas so intellectually. You were so above the petty gossip where people were just evading their responsibility, so they had nothing else to do but to sit around and gossip about something that you talked about, but twisting it in a way that led to a lot of disruption and destruction. I am in complete control of my emotional output. I choose to be happy, and I choose to spread joy. Yeah, I think that you were totally in control of your emotional output in a situation, like especially if this happened on like X chats. They would try to gossip and slander, and I think that the narrative kind of have integrated in a way, so it moves away from this cliche that they were drawing about you in some type of way, and about your irresistibility or about your body, and you were in complete control of your emotional output. Maybe you stopped engaging with them, maybe you took a break, or maybe, you know, as a siren with a spiritual and intellectual conviction, you helped them address an ideology that was an idealism, a group thing. You help improve their intuition, or you met them with big accomplishments, prosperity, success, and growth, where it was just like a big contradiction to whatever cliche they tried to reduce you to. Okay, so you chose to be happy, you chose to spread joy in the situation, but the karmic loop is actually where they feel so guilty and depressed for what they did. Okay, and so that's just like, you know, it's a temporary depression. I think that you will start having fun again, but the damage that happened, you know, from, you know, around your job security was actually, you know, they feel like shit. Okay, and this is why there's been a delay, because there's been so much sorrow, you know, as you tell this story as well. Okay, we have the storyteller. I have the right to speak because I listen when other people speak. Some of these people just got mad that you were speaking, and some of you, they felt like with that kind of body, or with that kind of, you know, with that kind of body, or in that feminine position or something like that, that you, especially if you're girl bosses or women CEOs, they really have a problem with you asserting yourself. They really have a problem with you demanding and commanding. But you are Glitch Emperor, and that you command and demand. You are a girl boss, and you know what to do. You have the higher learning around something. And so, especially if these are like men in subordinate positions, they just have to get over it, you know, because a lot of them, they try to act like they want to power struggle and tussle, but they really cannot resist you. They see you as the empress, LOL, and they want to restore the fun times, you know, with each other before they made a generalization or did something cliche. And I think that you are empathetic, because you know that a lot of people don't have this voice. You know, it's about your voice, the way that you speak, that makes you a siren. You're irresistible. And because it offers people so much higher learning, for one. But I think that, you know, some of these people, they try to stop you from speaking because you're a woman, or try to stop you from speaking because you have a curvy body, and they don't want to see that curve without that communication, because it will reflect that you're not this, you know, idiot, dumb blonde in the workplace just getting by on your looks or something like that. Okay, and so people have to adjust their expectations of beauty in the workplace. Yes, we appreciate beauty, but you cannot harm someone because they're beautiful at work. Okay, thank you so much, group 2. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Hi, group 3. Welcome to your selection. So you chose Moon Beach. Is that Moon Beach or Neon Beach? I think that says Neon Beach, actually. Yeah, it's Neon Beach. This is a bestseller in Cosmic Intelligence. So we have some of these left. You guys should go shop it. Help us keep our lights on. How do your coworkers view you, group 3? How do your coworkers view you? I think that they definitely highlight your virtuous qualities. Okay. So let's see. How do your coworkers view you? Group 3. The Aquarius lover. Okay, interesting. LOL. Some of you guys are in a relationship with an Aquarius. Some of you, this could be a romantic or friendship, but some people are saying that you have a lot of relationships with Aquarius. They're noticing a pattern, LOL, that you have a lot of relationships with Aquarius. Like there's a lot of, you know, Aquariuses are known as like Aquarii. Yeah, LOL. Aquarius is known for being really, really great friends, y'all. No cap. But some of it, they could be questioning whether or not some of this is superficial. But I think that, at work, I think that you and, there's like, with these people, it's, these coworkers is very creative, exciting, and, you guys don't possess each other. I think that that is like the most fun part about your relationship with this lover. Some of you guys, you are at work with your lover, and they see that you work so well out and, working together and having a romantic relationship behind the scenes. They know that like a big part of your relationship is private. Maybe you guys, you're very professional. Um, you're very professional in the out in the workplace, but they see that you guys have a lot of harmonious work environment because you guys have like you're very harmonious with your lover at work. They're like they just are looking at some of you guys. This feels like you could work for yourself low key, or that you and your lover have a business together, and they see that when you guys are like when they see you guys sharing a workspace, maybe you're running a task together, delivering something together. They see that you guys have been that you guys are very, I don't want to say you're detached from one another, but you guys let each other do what you want. Especially if they see that they know that you guys are lovers, and then they see you collaborating with others, spending time with others. There's not this cliche jealous catty thing that happens. Like if you have like some work affairs go totally wrong, but this is like this work dynamic is where like you guys truly you might scatter sometimes, and it's not because you don't love each other or that you don't respect each other, but it's literally because it's the way the dynamic is facilitated to begin with. You're very excited, but I think that a lot of, you guys can have a lot of different interactions or have to socialize a lot, and they just see that you guys are not super possessive of each other. You guys are not jealous of each other. You guys are not in a chaos and at work, you know what I'm saying? So they're really taking a look at how productive and efficient you guys are at work. LOL. They're saying that because you guys work together, LOL, that you can with your lover or something like that. They're saying that you guys can like you can be intimate anytime or any place. LOL. So that's interesting. So let's see, group 3, how your coworkers viewing you? Okay, attachment. You see, you friend, you looking too flossed out. You and your partner, let's hold space for how this evolves, because sometimes attachment can have a negative resonance for me. They know they see a lot of possessions related to your partner, okay? Maybe there's merch, there is creative projects around reflecting like sentimental value, like necklaces, jewelries, shoes, merch or something like that, books that you guys may have written together or share with one another, work that you guys work on together. And so they see that actually makes you really attached to each other. And so all of that, they see that because you have like this, you have this image of them that you can keep in your pocket, that when you guys are scattered or when you are, involved elsewhere, maybe separated or disconnected for a bit, you're never truly disconnected because you have like this big attachment of financial security with one another, okay? Some people could be saying that this relationship is superficial because of all the possessions that you have and all of the material reflections of it, okay? But a lot of times, don't make the assumption that because someone is plastered, because a relationship is plastered on a commercial, or that, I know it could be easy to be skeptical about it, but sometimes it actually reflects quite the opposite. It represents a deep and tenacious relationship. It represents, you know, someone's true joy and fulfillment and masculine influence. Like what they're really seeing in this like image of attachment is your masculine's influence all over you. All these possessions that you have, all of this merch and all of this reflections of them. You know, they're looking at your socks, or they're looking at your shoes and your belongings and poster boards and like I don't know, like something with posters, or home, domestic bliss at home. Okay, and they're saying that they could be saying that it's superficial, but some of them, you know, I think that what it could really represent is that it was really quality oriented. But they are wanting you to beware of your attachment to the memories. They're saying that this person has fallen short, that it was fleeting, that it was superficial. It may have been a creative exchange, but they see that some of it, you know, they're saying that because you guys are not possessive of each other, that it could be superficial. But I think that you reflect this person's masculine energy so much that you don't need to always, like, you don't need to possess them. Okay, so, you know, I think that you guys are still very excited with one another. You guys, you know, you still give to each other is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing you still give to each other a lot, but some people are trying to assess the quality of the attachment. Okay, but I think that you guys are on a really, really long journey together, and they're I don't know if their assessment is right. Okay, sometimes having a lot of attachments or material things could mean quite the opposite of superficial. Okay, so this one just came out, so I'm going to pull another one from the philosopher today. How are your coworkers viewing you, group 3? Some of you guys, this is a headquarters of a work dynamic. Okay, there's of a romantic relationship. Maybe this is literally a marriage and business. Some of you guys, this is a marriage and business, and they're starting to see, you know, they're assessing the quality of it based on the creativity expressed around it. Okay, so how are your coworkers viewing your group 3? Okay, we have Aristotle, character. Okay, let's get it from the book, because the writing is so on point in this book. Like, they really snapped. Okay, so you know, your partner really snapped. LOL. Okay, Aristotle, character is your guide to virtues. Use virtues to guide your behavior and form your character. Your character is your ethos, the place where you feel most at home in your actions. It is defined by your personal ethical code. Exercise moderation by avoiding extremes. It's easy to be angry, but to be angry at the right person for the right reason in the right way and the right amount of time takes skill and good judgment. What Aristotle calls, what is that? Peronis, develops your capacity for Peronis by finding your balance between acting in excess and acting too little with regard to virtuous activities. There is no set way to practice these virtues or of generosity, bravery, temperance, some of Aristotle's key virtues. Good judgment lies in your ability to read a situation and yourself within the situation to arrive at a measured course of action. Reach an equilibrium in your soul by balancing virtues with your own unique dispositions. Weak characters suffer from regret, remorse, and self-doubt. If you often find yourself out of the sorts, then you are judging poorly. This is likely because your actions are not aligned with your ethos. When you have found your center in relation to virtuous activity, what Aristotle calls your mean, you will be at home in your actions. Flourish by acting well and doing well in harmony with nature. This is Aristotle's message to you. We'll get more, but I think that they're assessing the quality of an attachment that you have, and they want to know if this is, you know, someone with a weak character or a strong character. They're trying to see if you have remorse, suffering, regret, and self-doubt around this relationship, or whether this is a relationship that have helped you arrive at a course of action. This is a situation, a lot of you guys, this person came, you know, I think that they're trying to look at your attachment to the person. Some of you guys have music with this person or a lot of financial security with this person. And I think that they came around you. They were generous, brave, and tempered. And these were key virtues where this person, you love them. And this, you know, they could be saying that they fell short or something like that, or they did something unethical. But I think that this was just you guys exercising a moderation. And, you know, some of you guys were, when you came into contact with this person, they offered you home or they became home, but you were angry about something else, okay? And so you have been exercising a moderation around this, you know, and, you know, highlighting this person's virtuous qualities within their character. They have been generous, brave, and tempered, and very measured. And a lot of them, their masculine influence have, within this situation, have helped you arrive at a measured course of action. This person who came into your life, they could be a water sign or air sign. This person, you found so much pleasure in their virtuous activities. There was no expectations of possessions. Some of them are saying that this person is married, or that you are a third party, or that you are a home worker. Especially if you guys work together, LOL. And but others, you know, they're, you know, other relationships where you are assessing the lover, right? They have had weak characters. They are filled with regret, remorse, and self-doubt. And there's a big difference in a lover at work is what they're highlighting. They're highlighting a work dynamic that's full of chaos versus a, you know, a work dynamic that has a unique disposition where you were able to reach equilibrium, asymmetry, and arrive at a measured course of action because of this masculine's influence over you. And all of the memories, attachments, and possessions that you guys have together are just a reflection of ethos, okay? They just want you to be more discerning and to make sure you are reading the situation correctly. But I think that you ultimately, you know, some of you guys, you might see them as inconsistent, but I think that both of you guys are inconsistent, or both of you guys are in this like flexible state where you have to kind of, you know, release anger and destructive emotions before making decisions. I think that you're really flourishing with this person, to be honest. Like, they're looking at your possessions and they're saying that this person put you on a throne. They were brave and tempered and generous with something, and you were directly at home with this person, and you guys are very harmonious. It's not excessive, it's not overly reserved, you know, but I think that they could be having issues with inconsistent, you know, people could be saying that they're inconsistent, or they could be saying that they've fallen short in some type of way. But I think that you really see them as having the keys to a good character, and that's what you are assessing first before having any kind of expectations of them. You guys just don't possess each other, and I think that that is a key characteristic that you are looking for with Aristotle energy, okay? And that's why you guys, you know, your work environment with this person is a lot less chaotic. So let's keep going though. Group 3. You know, how are your coworkers viewing you? Okay, how are your coworkers viewing you? We have the waxing gibbous moon. How are your coworkers viewing you? Group 3. How are your coworkers viewing you? Some of them could be saying that you look sad. Like, even though you have all this glamour around you, there's like a, you know, I don't want to say you don't appreciate it, but I think that, you know, they could be wondering if this person is falling short because you are not happy about something, okay? We have the Messiah. So, but let's read the waxing gibbous moon first, okay? The waxing gibbous moon isn't all about, it's all about tending to the finer details of the situation. Yeah, this person, this was like a fine tuning with this lover at work, okay? They executed to perfection, okay? With their generosity, their bravery, and their tempered approach, okay? They helped you arrive at a course of action, and they just, there's, you see how Aristotle is just standing with the, you know, the hands out? It's like this person, they shocked you, and they're just like, they're waiting with their arms open for you to come give them a hug. But a lot of you guys are just sitting on your throne, still being measured and assessing their key character values. This person gave you a lot of flowers, okay? They gave you a lot of flowers. They love you. And you love them too. And they enjoy the beauty of you. And they still require your attention, is a lot, is what I'm hearing. But I think that you guys have like done so much. You have so much security and attachment with one another. This is not, like, people could see that you guys are inconsistent. But I think that sometimes you just have you couldn't naturally separate. Separation is natural. So if you're looking in your tarot, you see Lovers reverse, or you see Two of Cups reverse, or Six of Cups reverse. It literally is just like past attachments, past memories, murky thoughts, okay? Maybe even mental health issues impacting your tarot, okay? This person still requires you. And they enjoy your beauty and enjoy your garden. And I think that this is, I think that they, what was I going to say? They gave you a lot of, I think that you guys, people could see, your coworkers could feel like this is inconsistent. But I think that a lot of it is really just you guys not possessing each other because you have so much financial security and you carry them in your back pocket. They're always with you, okay? There's some people at this job with this Messiah energy. This came out in the shadow as aspect, exaggerated belief that you're the only means through which a cause can succeed. There, some people, there's somebody at work that is, there's a woman at work, someone's name that starts with the letter S or something like that. There is somebody at work that had the exaggerated belief that they were the only way that this lover could succeed. This could be their previous partner, their baby mama, their ex, somebody that they used to work with. Maybe you came in as the successor or the heiress, but it definitely, you came in, and because you required, you gave them, you were attentive to some details as well, is what I'm hearing. And so when you made, whoever this was in their environment, their ex-spouse or their baby mother or baby father, they had the exaggerated belief that they were the only love that they could have, that they were the only partner that could have these kind of headquarters, okay? And you actually showed this person where their previous partners were weak in their character, okay? Someone's name that starts with the letter C, A, or S, okay? You showed them where their previous partner was just an attachment to things, but it was like a weak character. But you came in with a secure attachment, non-possession, and it highlighted a measured course of action, a tempered approach that thoroughly debunked this person's poor attachments to this other lover that thought that that had an exaggerated belief of, exaggerated their role. They exaggerated their position. Even like some of them, they thought that they had the supreme authority because they were like the baby mother or baby father. But some of you, especially if this deals with work or something like that, for one, you have the authority of their body. So even if they had children with this person before, that may have been the body that demanded them before, but you are the body that demands them now. And so you command this person with your body a lot, and they know that your body gets the highest honor, okay? Even if they were the previous mother, you are the heirs and the successor, or you are their new attachment that reflects their creativity, and it means that your body and your mind is the authority in their life, okay? Some of them, you really did have to, there were karmic cycles of contract. Excuse me, there could literally be contracts, paperwork that is delayed because marriages. I'm hearing that there could be, you could be getting a notoriety as a home worker, lol. But that is not an approved subplot. We don't want the home worker identity. I think that what really happens is that this home wrecked itself. It was that this person previously, like, you kind of disillusioned them with attachments that they had elsewhere. They said that those people did not have the key characteristics. And I think that this could be a challenge with the woman a woman in their life, a woman in their family, someone in their life and their family, maybe the parents of children, where this situation. Sorry if I'm all over the place. I'm kind of dry within my mouth. Where's my water? Like, where they were really exaggerated. You actually came in and disillusioned them and became the authority, even if they're married or have like another work commitment. So you were very quality oriented, and this disillusioned this person with someone else that thought that they were the reason for this person's success. You made them an even bigger success. Or there could be contention about who made them a success, like who their true maker is. Is it their ex, the mother of their child, or was it someone who grew complacent, someone who didn't exercise the right moderation, someone in their home that wasn't ethical? How was that your maker if that was someone that was betraying you and unethical with you in your home? I don't care if that's the mother of your children. If they betrayed you, then that's not your maker. That's someone who, with a weak character that you have a lot of suffering with. Someone who you regret, someone who made you doubt yourself, someone that you've been judging poorly that have not been aligned with your ethos. So there could be like this contention about who their true maker is, because you were the one that came around and really made them successful when they were in a cycle of suffering. You came around and both of you guys offered each other courses of actions in a tempered way, and this disillusioned them with what they had at home, what they were previously considering their raging success, right? And so this woman, I think that they were their ex or something like that. You are their true power, and they're just someone that they have a lot of regret, wasted attachment, and like waste around, sunk cost around them, okay? Someone that they might even feel guilty for leaving, okay, because of your body. So, interesting energies at work. Group 3, we have Saturn. Yeah, something where you have to be very, you have to be very disciplined, because there's a high risk for failure, or it highlighted something that failed, okay? Something, did fall, okay? Maybe it failed when it got, when it scattered, but I think there was, I think that this person is scattered because they are dealing with, some attachments that they have at home, okay? These are literally contracts that they need to resolve with a responsibility. So it's not inconsistency, it's just non-possession, okay? 11th house, you guys definitely share a network together. You guys definitely have romantic affair, definitely have creativity together. You guys work in a professional network or organization together. You guys have helped, they're seeing that you have helped each other actualize into your true self. So the person who, the true mother, the true creator, the true empress, the divine feminine energy, is the person that helps you actualize into your true self, not the person that ethically violates you in your home as a family violence, not someone that makes you suffer, not someone that fills you with remorse and regret. So they're, at work, in a shared network where they could be, or a club or something, a group, through the 11th house, they're noticing a previous attachment or partnership that failed, okay? And it wasn't your fault. The situation had already failed before you even got there. So I think that that's kind of a burden that lifts off of you. There is also, they're seeing that you guys are handling this failed marriage or failed attachment from the past with a lot of measure and temperance, okay? Because they know that you guys just really want to touch each other really bad. But you guys are not possessive of each other. So it could look scattered, but it's really because you guys are having to address failures that are making you angry, okay? LOL. It's like you actualize into your true self together, but these previous attachments just like are a constant reminder of, you know, some suffering, okay? And it's not just you, it's both of you, okay? But I think that you have, you know, you are the teacher, and so that makes you the maker. If you're sitting around having to teach the ex something, that means that you are the maker. LOL. Okay, so the ex can't take credit for any work here. They just had an exaggerated belief that their role as a baby mama sitting up with those test tube babies, that they were actually doing something. You truly weren't smart enough, and that's what the network is saying. The truth is you're a failure. The truth is you ain't really, you know, you're not really solving any you're not really dissolving any bottlenecks. You're really a failure. You really are not smart enough. That's the Waterloo, ho. You want to sit around with $1 trillion? You actually are not qualified or skilled enough. So that's why some of you guys are at court with their spouse or their ex-spouse, because you have had the role of the teacher, and this has been someone who's been knocking you off, trying to steal work. Some of you guys, this is just a group or, you know, a club that you take up with activities, but some of this is a professional network where this ex or someone in the network is trying to like steal work because they were not quality oriented. They just had an exaggerated belief that they were the maker in a situation. Bitch, you're not the maker. You're the desperation. You were the choice that they made when they were desperate. Okay? Pile 3 is the choice that they made when they were empowered. After they learned, right? So, but I think that in a situation, just be conscious of time. Don't sit around and wait for somebody to get divorced, okay? I think that non-possession is the best approach, because it lets you enjoy your attachments with one another, but it still gives you the freedom to explore other opportunities, or to consider them, failing to leave the situation, okay? Failure to do something as well, okay? Yeah, this is the karmic challenge. It's literally something that needs to be handled with the responsibility. And then here's the 4 of Swords reversed. And then this is the 7 of Cups. Yeah, this is the ex, okay? Their ex returned. And I think that it is the Page of Pentacles in the reverse. I just think that it's some of you guys, this is not, a plan that works. I think that you and this person have a good outcome, but it's like, this person doesn't really have, this situation is not really, it can't really, I'm not going to say it failed. Some of you guys, they're dealing with a failure, where they still haven't formed a method or a plan. They don't have a plan that works, and it's something that they need to handle with discipline, responsibility, something that has a time constraint. It might even involve them learning a big life lesson with the Wheel of Fortune, and this is not something that you can control, because it's a dynamic that doesn't, there are dynamics with external powers and competing desires, and it's not that they don't desire you and want you. It's literally because some of them are coping with a failure that they still haven't found a plan around, okay? This house that they have that failed is an attachment, and that is a karmic challenge that they need to learn a major life lesson around. This 4 of Swords represents the karmic challenge of them reevaluating this home life, because it's such a big investment, such a big, it was such a long-term security. Maybe there's children involved, a club, lots of networks and friendships involved in their past relationship. This is not something that they can just upend. And I think that there has been a cycle of them exploring the possibilities and trying to explore their options, because they truly don't have a plan that works. They're trying to find a solution for a failure, okay? And so the Seven of Cups is not, oh my God, they're desiring someone else. It's literally just like, okay, what if I do stay in this situation? Or just like having, like, what if I do stay in this situation? What kind of limitations do I have? Do we open our relationship up? What are the restrictions around this? Some of them, they just have not been able to cope with the life lesson that they learned. In hindsight, it's 2020. It's like, oh, I wish that we can go back to the way things used to be. I wish that we didn't fight. I wish that we didn't have so much suffering, regret, and remorse, like Aristotle. You know what I'm saying? And so the Seven of Cups is literally regret, mental illness, them not really, them being pessimistic, them not feeling like it. They have. Some of them feel like they don't have a role, okay, because you don't possess them or something like that. Some of them are concerned about old age. Some of them are concerned about old age, and this is all like, this is not just, oh my God, I'm addicted to my ex, or I'm addicted to my, my home. It's literally a security issue that they need to resolve, okay? There could be a financial dispute with this person. It really failed, okay? But I think that they also fail with you if they are not conscious of time, okay? If they still haven't made a decision, or they're still being scattered in some type of way, I think that you change your relation to the situation, or you change your attachment, or the value of the attachment, because you guys are friends. I think that you love each other, but they have this karmic challenge at home, okay? Where they need to kind of like stay open and stay flexible and explore the possibilities, so they can resolve and find a method, because this situation involves a lot of limitations around their network, okay? This is not a childish thing that you need to throw tantrums about, okay? So group 3, but I think that this ex, they definitely need to push back, because the Page of Pentacles shows that they don't know what they're doing. They thought that they were the maker. They thought that they were the reason why they were successful. No, group 3 is, they didn't actualize themselves with you. They just were suffering with you and learned a major lesson of what not to do, okay? So that's that part, okay? LOL. Cow spirit. Yeah, cow energy. The miracles are endless. Yeah, you keep running into miracles, so we really don't give a fuck about any attachments, any previous creativity. But I sense that you are very sensitive to their situation. Their ex does not have a plan that works. LOL. With the Queen of Cups, their ex is kind of a loser, okay? You are the role of the teacher, so they're just going to sit back and learn from you. We don't care how many kids you have with each other. You're still sitting back taking notes from Pal 3. Some of you guys share a network with their ex, okay? And they were just not the merit in the situation, okay? You ain't did shit. You ain't got no bottlenecks, bitch. Just sucking dick through a bottleneck, okay? I promise to be kinder to myself and more patient with my journey in this season of healing and emotional growth. This is definitely a period where you need to be kind to yourself and others, because, this failure is a healing journey and emotional growth, okay? Just be patient. I think that they just are exploring the options to find a plan, okay? So let's grab friends, okay? Thank you for being here. And then we have the forgiver. I forgive myself and others with compassion for their human frailty. Some of them are, they're trying to consider forgiving their ex. Some of them, they're trying to consider forgiving their ex with the Seven of Cups, but this is literally somebody that sabotaged them, someone that doesn't focus on them. And, you can forgive them, but don't think that it's actually going to help you actualize into your true self. So if they went back to their ex at Neuralink, or they went back to their ex at the headquarters or something like that, then they just decided to be a failure at life, okay? Thank you so much, group 3. Let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to shop Cosmic Intelligence for the perfume, and we love you, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye. for last but not least, welcome to your selection. So you chose one of the best sellers of Cosmic Intelligence. Manifest Your Future by The Good Scent. That one's available. Let's get into how your coworkers are viewing you. The reading has been wild and unbeknownst. So let's see what's going on. Okay. So let's see what's going on for the Scorpio parent. LOL. So, some of you guys have competing obligations, and parenthood could be getting in the way of work, especially if you are a woman. People at work are saying that your children are in the way of you working, or you're always needing to like step away. Maybe you guys went on pregnancy leave, took some type of leave of absence, and they know that you're protective, encouraging, and advising. This is not about you not being a good parent. I think that they know that it's demanding work, and I think that you could be very proud of being a parent, but I think that it's very demanding, and sometimes you deal with children that are insistent. Like, and this could even be your own children. Some of you guys may work at a daycare, or you work with a lot of children, okay, or work with children that you are not the parent of. Something of what you have to do is repetitive, okay, with children perhaps, but I think that a lot of your coworkers could be, they are really, they're saying that, your parenthood is getting in the way of work. And this is a fine and sensitive line, because there are protected rights at work about this, okay? But it is, like, this came up in a reading a couple of months ago. If you guys have just come off of pregnancy leave or something like that, like, I know that, like, with me advocating this, the birth rate will definitely decline. But, 90 days of pregnancy leave, some people don't even get that. They only get like 30 days of pregnancy leave before you have to return to work or something like that. And some of you guys have to return to a job where you're doing a repetitive task. And so it's easy to get sidelined or sidetracked by your child or something like that, or it's easy to kind of balance. It could be easy to balance parenthood, when you're just having to do something repetitive on the side or something. So I think that, like, if you guys are still working, and you are new parents, or you have to go to work or something like that, I think that having a job that is demanding or requires critical thinking skills is not like the job for you. Like I said, I think that, like, the birth rate will decline, or there will be backlash about this, but, like, I really feel like you should not be getting pregnant if you have to return to work in 90 days. Like, that is not a sufficient amount of time, and so many women deal with postpartum, okay? But either way, I think that you are doing, you get your job done. But they're saying, when people start saying, this is crazy, this came up in group 3 or 2, people are saying that you need to give something up. You need to give up your job. You have an attachment to the job, and you won't give it up because you're so proud of your job, but it's really getting in the way of work. This is not a good look. When people start saying, like, they could, they'll point out your virtuous qualities, of course, and say that you are doing a great job with being a parent, but that is the same reason to be let go as well, okay? When people start making commentary about your personal life impacting your work productivity, it immediately becomes a problem at work, okay? People are saying that you're so focused on parenthood, and you just want to focus on parenthood, but you don't want to leave your job or something like that, okay? Some of you people are saying that you have an attachment to your job and your possessions and all your nice glamorous things, and you don't want to leave that behind, or you don't want, like, something where they're saying that you don't want to give up your job to become a parent. Okay, LOL, that's funny. Gemini energy. What is what is the, how are your coworkers viewing you, group 4? Okay. They definitely see with Gemini's energy that you are a strong communicator at work. The rate of your intelligence is really highlighted. So if you're doing something repetitive, maybe you don't have to show your intelligence or communicate as much. For some of you guys, because your job requires a lot of communication skills, perhaps maybe you are publishing. There's publishing, there's multinational ventures, there is a lot of press and publications, or you're just like known for having this job, and they're saying that you want to manifest a different future of motherhood or some other outcome, and they see that you are having trouble releasing your occupation, or releasing this thing that you built, that you could have, like, an attachment to, fond memories with, attachment to your status. Okay. And they say that you're the one, they're saying that you're the one we already used this one. They're saying that you're the one that's at the crossroads, you're the one that's indecisive, you're the one that can't choose a partner, or you're the one that can't, that has all of the demands or something like that. They're saying that you're the one with the demanding career, and you need to make a decision to leave the career or to leave the job, so that you can focus more on encouraging and being a student, or raising a student. Maybe you're doing some type of homeschooling as well. Something where you need to be at home receiving packages, and they're saying that you are not, you're too busy trying to run after this little job that you're so proud of, or something like that. Okay. Interesting. We have France Fanon. Resistance. Okay, what does that say? Resistance is world making. Yeah, we're world making, bitch. Not no test tube making. We're world making. That's what we do, and we're very proud. LOL. So let's get the text about France. Some of you guys, if you're like, this could be your sign to take a leap of faith. I definitely will tell you guys a lot about the trials and tribulations of leaving my job without any backup plan and wanting to be free and stuff like that. So, if you're not ready to sacrifice and go through hells and high waters, if you're not willing to lose everything, then just make a a transitionary plan. But some of you guys, you already have enough security. You're just like, some of you guys are just very proud of your job and the status that you have acquired from your job, and you just are having a hard time. There could be resistance around the job, or around leaving the job, and some of you guys want to take, like, you're like, should I just take a leap of faith and leave this job? Okay. Franz Fanon, resistance is world making. Decolonize your mind by questioning the cultural frameworks that form and deform your self-image. I think that, like, this is really interesting, because I think that this occupation or this job has really formed your self-image, and maybe releasing the attachment of it would deform you in a way. There's definitely a cultural framework around your job. So it's not just like something technical or something repetitive. It's something that has an emotional resonance. Pay attention to the subtle ways that you have been made to see yourself through oppressive categories like race, gender, class, and sexuality. Some of you guys are working an oppressive job. Like, for me, I definitely left my corporate job because I was oppressed based on my race, gender, class, and sexuality. So some of you are just like, you're very proud of, like, the accomplishments that you've made in an oppressive space, but some of you are just like, you have this urge to leave. Okay. Fanon tells us how the oppressed are made to feel insignificant, unworthy, and less than human through irrational forces of prejudice and bigotry. Your job may have a cultural framework where this status that you've acquired from your job, have helped other people have hope. For one, these are people who were made to feel insignificant, unworthy, and less than. They were met with irrational forces of prejudice and bigotry, but you attaining a success and affluence around your occupation, people could be saying that you had a privilege, but a lot of you guys, you really serve as a cultural framework for people who meet irrational forces of prejudice and bigotry. Your communication with Gemini energy, you provided that clarity, okay, that have been a creative solution to corruption in the oppressive categories like race, gender, class, and sexuality. And so this status that you have around your job is an important cultural framework. It's meaningful to you in an emotional way. And so if you have you're getting asked to be married, or you're getting asked for, you're wondering if you'll ever have space and time to get pregnant or have children. I think that because your work coincides with the cultural framework, I think that it may mean readjusting some priorities or moving more into the encouraging role instead of being the person that always has to lead the resistance. You know what I'm saying? So I think that a lot of what your impact and legacy is very strong. A lot of you, your resistance in this world class framework that you provided to fight oppression is something that is long lasting and have had a tremendous impact. So you don't have to do so much of the pioneering anymore. You don't have to do so much of the front. You don't have to be so much on the frontier lines anymore. But some of you guys, they still need you, or you feel very chained to the to the job. Okay. Tend to the wounds you may have received from internalizing persistent messages of hatred. Come to the awareness first, and then acknowledge hurt and damage you feel. Finally, develop self-love. The strength of your self-respect and convictions arm you with the power to make change. You guys, you do represent this in this society. Your job is a cultural framework for people. Otherwise they would be internalizing persistent messages of hatred and not having this status and security and occupation is a big part of your identity, and it can deform you stepping away from it. But if you're not thinking about stepping away from it, then just take it how it resonates. Self-confidence is a lethal weapon. Your self-confidence was a lethal weapon. Uno y solo, group 4. Some of you guys, you've made a lot. You have this huge legacy around your occupation. And you were so confident standing up to prejudice and bigotry that it led to a whole entire framework solving corruption or contributing to a solution around a national security issue. Your self-confidence was a lethal weapon. Your communication with Gemini energy was a lethal weapon. That clarity that you slashed through prejudice and bigotry with was a weapon. You are literally a walking weapon. Your communication, your mouthpiece, is an arsenal that has been built with years of dedication. And you're very strong in this category. Your coworkers see you as a resistance to oppression. Okay. Resist wearing masks and assimilating into the dominant culture. You are a cultural framework, but I think that you may have a lot of criticisms about the dominant culture. Some of you guys, they assimilating, these people at work see your assimilation into the dominant culture kind of similar to this text, in that it won't bring you closer to power and privilege. It's not you looking for power and privilege. You have already, your self-confidence was lethal, and you were, if it was up to any of these bigots or prejudiced people, you would not have this job. you do not have to, like, some of them are commentating on, like, you know, some intercultural relationships that you have. They could be commentating about the dominant culture and how they don't really care, that they're just you know, that they're oppressive. They've been oppressive, right? Some of them are saying that you could have abandoned your cultural group or something like that by moving into mainstream or moving into the dominant culture. You know, they're saying that then didn't put you closer to power and privilege, but it's not about you being closer to power and privilege. I think a lot of it is for you to maintain a legacy of a cultural framework as a blueprint or a pink print to people who, as a survival guide. Quite literally, your life and your mandate is a survival guide and a creative solution to corruption that helps people face prejudice and bigotry and help them address, you know, persistent internal messages of hatred. This is a duty and not just, and it's very demanding. So some of you guys are wondering if you'll ever have the power and the privilege to have a family. And they're saying that that is actually, you know, the mask that you will wear moving into the dominant culture, okay? Oppression is built into the mainstream. Join with others to create a new future and prepare for the uncertainty that comes during the times of destruction and restructuring. I think that you were a force to be reckoned with. You serving as a lethal weapon at work, you know, you having this confidence to build this kind of status on a mainstream line was big, okay? And so this is actually a time, you know, your coworkers are saying this, that you have this attachment to what was built, and this, maybe you have this attachment to how it assimilated you into the dominant culture or something like that. But they're saying that now it's time to join with others, and that there is actually, like, this lethal weapon that you created actually led to a new future, a creative solution for corruption that help people prepare for the uncertainty that comes with your resistance. You are literally a resistance, and it's world altering. It's world making. Your lethal weapon destroy things, but it's also restructuring things. So now you can kind of like let other people work for you. You got talent now. You're on the mainstream line, and you're considered to be the person with power and privilege, to be quite honest, because you were able to move through this prejudice and bigotry with the confidence. They're saying that you were able to move through this prejudice and bigotry, and they're saying they could be saying it was because of some type of privilege, but I think that you just had confidence within yourself, or maybe you didn't have so much confidence within yourself, but you just had a motivation to stand up for what was right. Liberation struggles are world making. Yeah, I think that you operate as a cultural framework. You are a mandate, a diversity, equity, and inclusion mandate that may have actually been a bigger security risk and danger that they can no longer ignore. They may have wanted to be oppressive, uphold some type of bigotry or prejudice before, but they cannot deny that your resistance have made things very uncertain. Your resistance is not symbolic, but it's actually a coherence. Your resistance led to a major restructuring of the world, and that is not something that you should reduce, okay? Because your cultural framework helps people address their liberties, and liberation struggles are world making and a common hardship of the world and people of the non-dominant culture. Abandon worn out customs and traditions. They have lost their living force. You are not bound by your history. Your past is disposable, whatever, unaddressed trauma, internalizing oppressive social categories. Yeah, your cultural framework helps people stop internalizing oppressive social categories, and helps people stop getting weighed down by their past. I think that was very, very, very powerful, you guys. You know, and it hence manifests your future. Your resistance is actually, you know, restructuring the future. And I think that you're sitting back with the status, power, and privilege on the main line now, and you can just watch with comfort, and kind of, you can take time to live your little life. You're not just his little wife. You're not just this symbol, this political statement. You're not just this career to advertise, or this program to advertise, or this mandate, this diversity, equity, and inclusion. You're not just, you know, this person that has to, you know, respond to these demands, right? You can go live your life, okay? You can go have children. You can step away and let other people step up in the resistance, because you are on the mainstream line, and you know, you came with that lethal communication weapon that helped empower people to stop internalizing these negative projections that were keeping them oppressed and without securities within their life. You are a force to be reckoned with. Don't ever let somebody reduce it to a symbolic infrastructure. This is very real and very true and very bossed up in this bitch. So don't let nobody reduce your shit, okay? For one. For two, they could be seeing you as bossy, but I think that you've had to do something repetitive, LOL, with the Scorpio parent energy. You've had to do something repetitive. Maybe you've had to communicate something repetitive in a repetitive way, but it's because the reason why you've had to repeat it is because they've had these persistent internal messages of hatred, and so you keep telling them over and over again, do not believe that, do not think that, keep going, you know, you are literally in the role of encouraging now. And so I think that you can move more from repeating the information. Maybe you'll have to do some repeating, but you can do more of, you know, delegating tasks, okay? Or you've done enough repetition by now that it's mainstream and the symbolic framework is pushed out, okay? And that it's not so symbolic if it's world making and world altering, right? Stop trying to reduce it. You're just not getting it. Group 4, okay? Yeah, you're a servant, right? Delighting in helping others with a free and loving heart. That's your job, and that's what they see too, and that's really, really beautiful. Group 4, okay? Let's get some channel messages. Group 4, how are your coworkers viewing you? How are your coworkers viewing you, Group 4? We have Archangel Raphael, okay? The second house here, they're seeing your attachments, your possessions, your material things. And then we have Archangel Jeremiah, whatever. So, you know, your coworkers, they're seeing that you had a vision, okay? A dream to communicate hopeful messages. And this communication that you have, you envision a strong communications channel, and you achieve that. That's not symbolic, that's real engagement. That's operating in a real way. Not something symbolic, not something that doesn't hold a legal technical theory. It's very technical. It's very legal. It's a cultural framework to address oppression, bigotry, and prejudice. What's the communications, the transcription is very clear and present, offering clarity to many people, organizations, nations across the world. Your service, don't ever let someone reduce you to just getting demanded. You are free and a loving heart, okay? Some people say that you are serving because of your beauty, but your beauty is an act of resistance, okay? Your position is an act of resistance. You're very proud, and your counterparts are also very proud of you. Some of them are addressing your kitchen, okay? Some of them are addressing the food that you like to make in your unconventional house or something like that. They're saying that you have some of you guys are doing some type of agricultural reform within your government. They see that some of you guys are doing that. Some of you guys are cooking for a spouse. Some of them are, what else was I going to say? This is about the type of food that you like to eat. Maybe you like to eat cultural cuisines, or, you know, it reflects maybe you are living with an unconventional, in an unconventional relationship, maybe someone in the dominant culture, and some of you guys are getting a lot of backlash for having assimilated into the dominant culture. They're saying that that they just felt bad for you or something like that. But you were literally lethal. Okay, this was not a product of somebody feeling bad for you. This is literally you being a lethal weapon. You outsmarting bigots and prejudiced people. You literally outsmarted them. Right? You thought that you had power and privilege. This is not about capability. Let me show you what I'm really capable of, bitch. With this lethal ass communication and active resistance, you are not to be fucked with or reduced whatsoever. You can tell by through the second house that ain't shit sweet about group 4. They think that because you sit up in a nice house, or you're sitting up, you're getting, they feel like you have power and privilege because of some kind of allowance from a dominant culture. But a lot of you guys, you were a cultural framework before you moved into this relationship. Okay, they literally see your possessions, your house, your kitchen, your nice ass kitchen, your nice good quality of food, and how that has enhanced over your life, and how you did not let those insistent internal images of hatred persist and stop you from enjoying good quality. Okay, interesting energy. And they see that you are, you're, especially if they're seeing you in the kitchen, like it kind of just like points me back to this image here. Maybe you're doing a lot of cooking, making people food, giving people groceries is what I'm hearing, helping people address their personal freedoms. Just like the text said, liberation struggles are world making. And this cultural framework that you've offered on your channel with engagement and payment is not reduced to symbolism. It's not a shared language patterning grouping around. It's a ownership that is claimed to heal the body, feelings, and spirit. Your communications of hopeful messages have raised the earth's vibration. Some of you guys are receiving some technical information about your occupation or your communications. You're receiving the results of your notable, your notable events. You're receiving you're literally getting so many positive results from your communication. They're literally, some people, your coworkers are literally reading your reports of your impact. Your communication is not symbolic. It's an actual impact that you made. Your possessions, how you've enhanced your life, how you've addressed your personal freedoms, offer a framework to help people obtain the material goods that they need to enhance their social standing in their life. Not because of how they look or because of a prejudiced bigot, but because they had a lethal weapon, that mouthpiece, bitch. Let's rock. How are your coworkers doing you? Group 4. Okay. Yeah, you were met, the 9 of Swords, you were met with cruelty, right? They're saying, oh, you're just trying to get next to power and privilege. Oh, those people, they just feel sorry for you. No, they're very fucking proud of you, actually, because of the tangible things that you have, that you own now, the values that you share. The worst is behind you, where you were met with, you were met with some type of cruelty or something like that from a bigot or a prejudice, okay? The Tower, shooketh, bitch. Shook their whole motherfucking life with your personal freedoms. And then the 8 of Cups, okay? These people, they don't have anything to do with their life, okay? They're just watching your fast expansion. You're watching your movement and your resistance grow rapidly, okay? And the more you share your values and how you address your personal freedoms, it establishes even more financial capability. Stop trying to reduce it as something, as just an emotional infrastructure. No, that we're paid. That clarity, we're getting the results from the clarity that we provided from our lethal weapon that we created as an act of resistance. What the fuck are you talking about? Some people, like, I think that whatever you communicate fundamentally shifts their understanding. It's like a framework that solves problems. Okay, so this is not symbolism, it's an actual infrastructure. Some of you guys are actually, because of cruelty that you faced, some of you were owed unexpected money, or this was just like a betrayal that happened in the spotlight that led to loss and erosion. But you know, it's like they're shocked seeing you enhance your life constantly after dealing with something, after dealing with a cruel betrayal from a bigot or a prejudiced person, okay? And you were just a servant or something like that, okay? LOL. You got the motherfucking wheels turning, okay? Set healthy boundaries with these white people or the dominant culture or something like that, okay? Because you are a lethal weapon, providing a cultural framework to free oppression, right? That's the same, that means that the future is uncertain. You offering a cultural framework means that you are offering success to people. You are unsticking the stuck. You are liberating people, quite literally. So that means that those same sneaky maneuvers that the dominant culture or the prejudice and bigot people tried to enact before are no longer working. That's the change. That's the impact. Not some group or wave of memes. Real impact. Real channel. Real engagement. Bitch. Real mouthpiece. Now they want to come all around you because they see you have this mainstream communications line providing a cultural framework, okay? So I give myself permission to detach. Yeah, that's the boundary too. I give myself permission to detach from people who do not consider my feelings. I allow myself to heal by any means necessary. Like some of this is like around a house that you share with people. And some of these people that you work with, they're also like members of your family. Even people, the dominant culture, you know, once you get like on the mainstream line or reach a level of success, it all becomes one group, right? And so you were, you know, if it had been up to some of these people, you wouldn't have made it for him. And so some of them, like Elon Musk, did not consider feelings in the situation, did not consider the danger, but actually got offended by our cultural framework, actually saw it as a threat, actually saw it as something that felt like a challenge or a fight for dominance. So no, moving and assimilating did not give you power and privilege. What gave you power and privilege is the cultural framework and the lethal weapon of that fucking mouthpiece. Not letting some persona with 200 million people in a group think determining how we feel about ourselves. No, you most definitely are not under the white gaze. So let's hold up, you know, back your britches up right there. Stop trying to project. This is a unyielding self-confidence becoming lethal. Don't ever say that some white person, some man gave me power and privilege, gave me a nice kitchen, gave me nice food. I gave it to myself, bitch. I'm the cultural framework that they mandated, bitch. Yeah, so all the critics in the pulpit, you don't have an impact. So what are you talking about? Like, we don't give a fuck. Shut up. You just don't have any options in your life. Something that you know, your coworker, something that you did with them have really like fundamentally alter their understanding of reality. They're shook by this communication and this act of resistance. No, we're not a symbol. We are resistance, and we have real impact, real reports, real clarity, getting iced. Thank you so much, Group 4. Let me know how that resonates. Good luck at work. You're doing so much great work, but it's so demanding. Keep up the good work and try to stay safe, stay sane, and put up a lot of boundaries with these people, because otherwise they would be oppressive, bigots, and prejudiced people trying to fight for dominance and control about the organ inferiority complex. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to shop Cosmic Intelligence. All of the proceeds go back to our channel, our communications channel, offering a cultural framework and a lethal communication to defend yourself from the prejudiced people in your environment that want you to internalize those persistent negative messages of hatred that are not accurate and not a truth grounded in the fundamental reality that lies beyond. Tell that to your fucking self. You're the inferior, bitch. Bye.